Hello everyone, welcome back to the Artsy Philosophy. I'm Amr. Let me introduce myself. I'm Amr. I am a philosophy student at New Lane University, currently taking my bachelor's degree in philosophy. Okay, today is this video is a bit different than the previous videos because in this one I'm going to present to you one of the papers that I have submitted to a course of the courses at New Lane, like it's coursework. So first of all, sorry, I will be looking most of the time at my laptop because I will be reading the paper, and then if something needs explaining, I will explain it. The subject of this paper is, you can say, it's asking the question or proposing an idea, not asking a question. It's proposing the idea that anyone can be as good as the best of us. Okay, let's get to the paper. So basically, by the time you watch this video, I will have uploaded the text form of this paper on my blog. So if you would like to read the paper more than listen to it, then you check the description, you can find it there. And this video would be something like, if you prefer to listen or watch something rather than read it, then this video is for you. Otherwise, if you like reading, then I encourage you to go to the blog post, or even after watching this video, if you would like to watch it anyways. I believe that reading or writing are the best method of communicating ideas and serious intellectual work. I'm not claiming that this paper is intellectual or anything like that, but what I mean is if something is concerned with reasoning and thinking, it's better communicated in written form than in speech, which is something I think Plato didn't believe in. He believed, if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard that somewhere, that Plato believed that speech is the best form of communication. So, by the way, Patreon is available if you would like to support the channel, or PayPal. However, a disclaimer, at the moment, don't expect anything special happening in Patreon. That is because I believe that everything educational should be available freely to everyone. So basically, anything that I can share, I will share, if God is willing, on this channel or in my blog. So basically, I don't like putting I don't like the idea of putting the content behind a payment wall. So basically, everything I can share or anything I can do, at least at the moment, I will do it freely, available to everyone. So let's get going to the paper. So basically, discussing this paper, I was criticizing Aristotle's argument in the Nicomachean. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it at the moment. It has been a long time since I read that book. Nicomachean Ethics. It's written by Aristotle, where he presents his virtue ethics virtue ethicist view of ethics. But this a lot of details, we don't have to get into it. But I'm criticizing a very specific phrase in this book. I will tell you it's I will paraphrase it to you. If you want to read the specific phrasing and the specific quotes, you can head to the blog post on my blog, The Artsy Philosophy. He basically says that an ox or a horse cannot, or any other animal cannot be happy, because none of them is capable of doing happiness. Okay, I realized I will have to read the paper in order to explain to you what Aristotle is saying. So basically, I am saying in the introduction that I'm going to argue that there are diverse forms. I'm going to argue that Aristotle missed a very important point about the highest good act when he claimed that contemplation, which is thinking, like thinking about things, is the highest good act that could ever be done. I will be explaining what is meant by the highest good and the highest good act in a minute. And so I'm going to argue that there are diverse forms of the highest good act, as diverse as the different beings that exist. In the beginning of the paper, I am articulating the difference between what I mean by the highest good and the highest good act. So basically, what I mean by the highest good is the objective that I aim for, or usually I want to aim for, or the thing I want to accomplish. While the highest good act is our means and methods of bringing or making that objective, the highest good, of bringing or making the objective a reality. So the highest good is the thing I'm aiming for. The highest good act is the thing I'm doing in order to achieve or reach or make present the highest good. Okay, so after that, I am making clear that I am not going in this paper to define what the good is. Like, what is good? We are talking about goodness. What is good? I'm not going to define this in this paper, but that should not prevent me from talking about it, or from knowing, or it should not prevent us from knowing some facts about the highest good and the highest good act in turn. And by that, I'm making a claim that there are many things around us that we cannot define in words, but we can still able to articulate at least some facts about them. By that, I mean that there are a lot of things that we know a lot of information about them without actually knowing what they are, or a definition of them, or a clear definition of what they are. An example I give that in the paper, numbers. We may not have a real definition of what a number is, but we can know numerous facts about them. We can know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. We can know that the method to calculate the area of a triangle is the height multiplied by something. So we can know a lot of information about things that we can't really find a clear definition cut for them, a clear cut definition for them, but we can still make argumentation about them. So by all of that, all I'm saying is I'm not going to define what goodness is, but that shouldn't prevent us from talking about goodness or making arguments about goodness. The second point I'm making in the beginning is that the highest good act, the thing which brings about, the thing through which I can bring about the highest good, I am saying that the highest good act is just a part or a subset or some manifestation of the highest good. As the good act itself is considered some sort of good, the good act is a part of the good, of the highest good, that brings I am a little lost in my writing, but I think what I mean is, basically what I mean is, the highest good act is called the highest good act, which means that it is a part or some sort of goodness in itself. So the highest good is something like that exists here. The highest good act is a part of that highest good, by definition. Another point I'm making is the fact that we are not talking about the good in this paper. We are not talking about the good, as I said before. Rather, we are talking about the highest good, which is good in its best and fullest form. And so the highest good also has all parts of the good. Whatever these parts are, we are not going to discuss what these parts are, but we can know that the highest good contains all the parts of the good. And those parts that exist in the highest good should be in their fullest and best forms. Why? Because the absence of that assumption, the assumption that the highest good contains the best and fullest forms of the good, because the absence of that assumption would lead to a contradiction. Let's imagine the highest good as not having or missing some part of goodness, or that the highest good has all parts or forms of goodness, but they are not in their best or fullest form. Basically, I will just read the paper from now on and only make points of explanation when needed, because I feel like my intervention in reading the paper in itself makes some kind of confusion to you, or I think so. Tell me in the comments about your feedback about that. So let's continue. What I have said is that if you suppose that the highest good lacks some part or some form of goodness, or that it has all the parts of goodness but not in their fullest form, then we are making a contradiction. Let's imagine the highest good as not having or missing some parts of goodness, or that the highest good has parts or forms of goodness but they are not in their best or fullest form. Then it means that there might be even a higher highest good than the one we considered, one where all the parts of goodness could be present and in their fullest forms. And so the highest good in consideration wouldn't by definition be the highest good after all. It is by definition impossible for the highest good to not have all the parts of goodness in their best and fullest forms. So if you are familiar with philosophy and philosophical argumentation, you might point out or notice that I'm using some form of the ontological argument here, or I think I do. I'm not sure. But basically, the ontological argument is a famous argument for the existence of God. I think it's a fascinating argument, actually. It's an argument that is used to prove the existence of God from the mere definition of God. You define what God is, and then follow the reasoning and prove, voila, God must exist by a necessity of reason. So I am using a version of that argumentation to prove that that the highest good must have all parts of goodness in their fullest form. But the difference is the ontological argument in its normal use is used to prove the existence of something. I'm not in this way proving the existence of something, rather I'm proving the nature of something. Like I'm saying, from the ontological argument that I have just made, I believe that goodness has to have this and this and this. But I'm not arguing that from this ontological argument that goodness exists, for example. Of course, I believe goodness exists to write this paper. I'm just saying that this is not what I'm arguing for in this paragraph. So I'm continuing on. One might argue that there might be competing parts of goodness. By that I mean parts of goodness that cannot be fully present at the same time due to their contradictory natures. For example, being truthful and being nice. One cannot be 100% truthful while being 100% nice. And to that I reply, this is the first objection in the paper that I am trying to resolve. And to that I reply, the highest good doesn't have competing parts, as all the parts of goodness aim and work as a means to the same thing, which is the good. And so, there is always a way of reconciling all the parts of goodness to make them all present and all in their fullest form. For example, you can be 100% truthful and 100% nice by always saying what is true in a nice way, or what we can call being considerate. Okay. And then we reach the point of Aristotle. So basically, Aristotle argues that we cannot call neither an ox nor a horse nor any other kind of animal happy, for none of them is capable of sharing in such activity. He's saying that animals cannot be happy. Not even children can be said to be happy. He's considering happy as the highest good. And he believes that contemplation is the highest good act. So to achieve happiness, you must be able to contemplate. If you cannot contemplate, you cannot reach happiness. And that's why he's making that claim. He's making the claim that only rational beings can be happy because they can contemplate. So what is my problem with that? With that declaration? To that I say, as there are many forms of being in our world, each being with different capabilities, some are capable of some things while others are not capable of the same things. for the highest good act to be something like contemplation, like Aristotle had claimed, it is by doing that, to claim that the highest good act is contemplation, it is to declare that there are at least some beings who cannot act as the highest good act, and thus cannot achieve the highest good, which is happiness. So what's the problem with that? And so I say, by doing this proposition that contemplation is the highest good act, the highest good, including the highest good act, would fail to meet one of its very own standard, which is justice. How is it just that some beings are capable of doing the highest good or the highest good act while others cannot? It is not just that there are beings other than humans who cannot contemplate. Rather, there are even humans who cannot contemplate, as some people have mental challenges and some are not even aware to contemplate, as some people are in comas, which is the medical condition. And so I continue. And as justice is some sort of goodness, justice is goodness, some part of goodness, some manifestation of goodness, and as the highest good has all its parts of goodness present and in its fullest and best forms, then the aspect of justice must be present in the highest good and in its fullest and best form. And as the highest good act, which we do in order to bring about the highest good, is what brings the highest good to life, and as the highest good act is a part of the highest good, if there are two possible forms of a good act, one is more good than the other, then by definition, the form of the highest good act would be closer to the former than to the latter. I will tell you the point of this paragraph in just a minute after I finish reading the rest. And because the good act that has all aspects, parts, and manifestation of goodness is better than the good act that has only parts of it, then the highest good act must have all aspects of goodness. So basically what I'm saying is, justice is some sort of goodness. Justice is a part or an aspect of goodness. The highest good, and we said before that the highest good must have all the parts of goodness present and in their fullest form. And because the highest good act is a part of the highest good, and because that if there are two forms of a good act, one of them has more good or more parts of goodness or more manifestation and fullest forms of goodness. If two possible forms of goodness, one of them has more goodness than the other, then by definition the form of the highest good act would be closer to the one with the highest good content or best forms of goodness than the other. And because, as we said, the good act is a part of the highest good is a part of the highest good act, and because the highest good act is a part of the highest good, then we expect the highest good act to have all the aspects of and parts and manifestations of goodness and because the good act, the highest good act, is a part of the highest good, and the highest good has all the parts and manifestations of goodness, so we expect the highest good act to also have this kind of the best. We expect the highest good act to have all the aspects and parts and manifestation of goodness as well. And so I go on and say, and as justice is a form of goodness, then the highest good act, and as justice is a form of goodness, then the highest good act must have all the aspects of forms of justice. And so for the highest good act to be just and to truly be the highest good act, it has to account for all possible beings. It has to accommodate the capabilities of everyone in all possible situations. And after that, I am proposing an idea on how the highest good can achieve that objective to accommodate the capabilities of everyone in all possible situations. So I go on and say, this can be achieved in several ways. First, that there is no objectively highest good. The good or good act could have two distinct kind of properties, which are the form and the value of the good act, and each is a function of or dependent on the being's capabilities, the being in question that we are concerned or we are investigating. By that I mean that the properties of the good act, which are the form and the value, are related to and are a result of the capabilities of the being in question. And so I go on and say the form is the shape or form or kind of good act that is reached or acted by the being. I will explain what that means in a moment. While we can think of the value of the act as the value of the good act on the scale of goodness and the capabilities, and as the capabilities of the being increase, the more capable the form of its highest good act would be, and the less the value other good acts would have in relation to its highest good act and their capabilities. And as that is a mouthful. But I will keep on reading and then I will explain what I mean by this in a moment. And as the capabilities of the beings decrease, the less capable the form would be, and the more value other good acts would have in relation to the highest good. And so the same form here is the explanation to what I have just said. And so the same form of a good act can be done by two beings and have a different value for each, as the same form of a good act can be done by two beings and have a different value for each, as each of them has different capabilities. For example, the act of loving children for a father may have the same form between a fully capable and a physically healthy father and a completely paralyzed father. So the form of the good act in this case is the act of loving their children. And so I go on and say However, even though they have the same form of the good action that they are doing, they do not have the same value. The act of loving their children doesn't have the same value as each other, as each of them has different capabilities. The first father can do much more than just loving his children in the heart, and thus the value of this action is not as high as for the second father, who can do nothing to his children but love them. So what do I mean by this? I mean that any possible good action you can think of has two properties: the value of the good action and the form of the good action. When I, for example, uh, when I am walking down the street, I see an injured animal, for example, and I go to that animal and feed him some kind of food because I thought he was hungry for some reason. So this is a form. The form of the good act is what I'm doing, what I'm actually doing. The act of going and getting the food and feeding the dog. And someone else came and looked at the injured animal and did the same thing as I did. He went to the animal and fed the animal because it was again hungry. Maybe the two actions between me and him happened at different times of the day. So that other person did the same exact good action, the form of the action. He fed the poor animal. And so we did the same exact form. But what you didn't know is that I could have done more for the animal. I actually had the money and the capability to take, and the time to take the animal and go to a pet hospital, or I don't know what they are called, and then heal the animal in some way or form. I could do that, but for some reason I just didn't want to do that. I'm not good enough in my heart to actually do this thing. I just did the thing that would silence my conscience or something like that. So I fed the animal even though I could do something more. So in this way, while the other person who fed the animal couldn't do more than that. This is the highest thing they could do for the poor animal. They don't have the money or the time, for example, to do anything more than that. So even though we did the same action, we have the same form of the good act, we actually have different values. The value of my action is less than the value of his action or her action. That is because I could do more, but I didn't. So what I'm doing by this, what I'm trying to achieve by this, is to make the highest good and the highest good act as fair as I can. By this I mean, maybe the other person couldn't do some kind of other form of good act towards that animal, but when they did that form, they got the highest value of goodness. Like, this good action is actually considered very high kind of goodness because they couldn't do more than that, while where I could do more and didn't do it, the value of actually feeding the animal has a very low value of goodness. And so the highest good act doesn't have a universal form, one catalog of actions. Like, if you want to do the highest good act, you go contemplate, as Aristotle said. I don't believe that this is the case. I believe that the highest good act can has many forms, many ways you could do it, but we have to focus on the value of the good act. The value of the good act, because The value is the thing that determines if this form of the good act is the highest good act or not. So this is, I think this is the end of the paper. I got an objection. I proposed an objection to this view and tried to answer it, but I don't really remember what I meant by my answer. It's a very strange answer, and I don't understand at the moment, so I wouldn't talk about it to you. But you could go to the blog and actually read it. It would be at the end of the blog. Um, So, this is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tell me in the comments if you have enjoyed it or not, or if you would like something like that in the future. I will try to do it again at some point. So that's it. Please tell me what you think. Please support me if you can. And I hope you enjoyed this video this time. Bye.